All right, 7 on the nose. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's meeting of the Oakland Mills Community Association Village Board meeting. We're going to get the meeting underway. We have a couple of administrative items to get through. Actually, I think we're missing something in the agenda, aren't we? We have two minutes to approve, not just one. Is that right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Add that,
Okay.
amend it.
All right. Well, since we approved the past minutes before we do the agenda, I'm just going to call them both up. So first order is to approve the minutes from the regular board meeting, which was held on March 8th, 2022. Is there a motion to approve those minutes? I see a hand from Bill. I'll take that as a motion. Is there a second? I have a second from Lynn. Any discussion? All right, all in favor of approving? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, 0, 0. Okay, and then this is not in our agenda, but we did have a special board meeting on the afternoon of February 24th, 2022 to discuss pending legislation in the Maryland House of Delegates and State Senate. So is there a motion to approve the minutes from that meeting? All right, I see a motion from Bill. Is there a second? I've got Lynn again. Any discussion of those minutes? All in favor of approving? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0, 0. Okay, and then we have the agenda for tonight's meeting. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda? I see a hand from Bill. I'll take that as the motion. I see a hand from Warren. I'll take that as the second. Any discussion of tonight's agenda? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0, 0. Okay, we're going to go into resident remarks. We were supposed to be joined by our council representative, Dr. Opal Jones, and we were going to let him make some opening remarks. Unfortunately, he learned earlier today that there was a death in the family, so he won't be able to join us. And of course, we send him our deepest condolences. And of course, he always has an open invitation to join us anytime. So his assistant Michael did send Dr. Jones's regrets, and of course we understand. So that there's a slight change of plans tonight. But if any residents are in the audience and would like to make remarks, you have 3 minutes to do so. And I just ask that you do what Sam Hahn did there and use the Zoom raise hand feature, and I'll call on you in the order that Zoom sees you raising your hand. So I see I have Sam. Is there anyone else who would like to make remarks tonight? All right, Sam, you're on.
All right, well, thank you again for allowing residents speak out here. My name is Samuel Hahn. I'm the Executive Director of Oakland Mills United, an organization that is a community partner here with OMCA. And I wanted to share some major updates that's going on with us so we can continue to solidify our partnership with you guys. First of all, again, thank you so much for your donation. Our technology acquisition was a very, very big part of what we do, and we're looking forward to using this to go forward with our Summer Leadership Academy for our high school and middle school students. And so as we work on this, we hope to work with you guys to share that out with the community. And again, this would not be possible without your support and your donation. So we greatly, greatly appreciate that. When it comes to working more in the long term, I'm excited to announce that we have sent all of our paperwork to the IRS pending. And so within the next couple of months or so, we should come back so we can really work together as a true nonprofit with OMCA and really serve the community. I just wanted to share those updates. And again, thank you so much again for your support. And we look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you very much, Sam, and congratulations. Okay, anyone else for remarks tonight? Going once, going twice. All right, we are moving right along. So we have a couple items of new business, and the first one is something we do about once a year, and that is a presentation from our community police officer in the Howard County Police Department. So we are joined tonight by our community police officer, Officer Paul, as well as by one of our past community police officers, Corporal Lopez, and they're here. You have about 30 minutes to, talk to us about, what's going on around Howard County, and maybe more specifically, what's happening in Columbia and Oakland Mills when it comes to crime and law enforcement. And, if you could just leave a little bit of time toward the end of that 30 minutes for some question and answer, that would be appreciated. I know Corporal Lopez has been through this before, so you kind of know how we do it. But, with that said, I will turn it over to both of you to share whatever you've prepared for us tonight.
So do you hear me?
Yes, we do.
All right. Just so you know, Corporal Lopez is now my supervisor, so he wanted to check in on me tonight.
Ah,
So thanks for having me. My name's Officer Matthew Paul. I'm a police officer with the Howard County Police, and I'm the Neighborhood Community Resource Officer for Oakland Mills. So I don't know if you're familiar with NCROs, but it is my job as an NCRO for knowing the quality of life concerns and crime trends in Oakland Mills. I've worked with the community to address those concerns through community policing, problem solving, and enforcement activities. I assist business owners with banning lawbreakers from their property. I also enroll candidates into the LEAD program. It's a new program we're doing, law enforcement assisted diversion, where low-level offenders engaging in crimes are redirected to community-based services instead of prosecution. This is done with consent with the individual and with the victim, if there's a victim of that crime. NCROs, I also create a quality of life report for the patrol officers, so when I'm not at work, the patrol officers can see the issues that are reoccurring in Oakland Mills. A little about myself. I was raised in Long Island, New York, and now reside in Howard County. I am the Neighborhood Community Resource Officer for Oakland Mills. I've started this position in October 2021. I've worked most of my time in patrol with Howard County, mostly in Ellicott City, Elkridge, and Long Reach. I have previous experience as a Baltimore City police officer. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and I graduated from John Jay College in Manhattan with a bachelor's in criminal justice. So in the Oakland Mills area, I've been conducting vehicle patrols, traffic stops, foot patrols, bike patrols, business checks, and I've been doing my best to employ the philosophy of community policing. Some of the complaints I've recently seen in the Oakland Mills area, I've been called to investigate a drug dealer, and this call is kind of common. I get this complaint a lot for someone selling drugs in various parking lots. My investigations have revealed most of the time someone in their vehicle smoking marijuana, and I cite those individuals. We've had a few acts of juvenile delinquency. I can say that myself and other officers have solved many of these issues. I've been getting a lot of motor vehicle complaints about people not yielding at the sidewalks, the crosswalks, and loud exhaust. And I've been conducting traffic enforcement, and I have issued traffic citations at the crosswalks. I've assisted detectives with one catalytic converter theft. I've not seen a trend in Oakland Mills for catalytic converter thefts. It's actually a rare occurrence in our neighborhood. Recent complaints I have received include people drinking alcohol in the Oakland Mills Village Center. I've not caught these suspects yet, but I'm checking the area, and I will take enforcement when I see them. And I am aware that sometimes they hang out in the back of the shopping center where the dumpsters gather. I had a disorderly conduct report recently at the laundromat in which we banned a subject. There is no specific crime trending at this time in Oakland Mills. In fact, the crime in Oakland Mills for 2022 has been pretty low. Myself and the other NCROs are always looking for ways to become involved with the community. We recently had a meet and greet at the Interfaith Center with the youth group, which was planned by myself and Pastor Andrew James. We provided dinner for the kids. We just answered questions and had some fun. In the future, I'm going to plan a coffee with the cop event, hopefully at the Dunkin' Donuts in the Village Center. And right now, the police department and the NCROs are fundraising for the Special Olympics through the Polar Bear Plunge under the team Howard County Police Department. And I also have some stats for y'all. Give me a moment. All right. So quality of life reports for 2020. Y'all want to hear all these reports, correct? Okay.
I'm answering yes on mute. Yes, we appreciate that.
So in 2020, we had 79 reports of assault. We had 9 banning violations, which is basically a trespasser that we banned from our program. We had 8 breaking and entering reports. Before I start, these quality of life reports are calls for service. So it's calls we get from the public, or it was initiated by an officer. So to continue, we had 8 breaking and entering reports, 77 CDS violations, 22 shooting complaints, all of which no report was taken because it was either unfounded or there was no evidence. So that's a discharging complaint. There's no victim, nothing like that. Usually it's fireworks. We had 17 destruction of property reports, 161 disorderly conduct reports, 1 gambling call, 1 indecent exposure, 19 intoxicated subjects, 3 liquor violations, 18 loitering calls, 5 neighbor disputes, 8 robberies. All of those, a report was written. 58 suspicious subject calls, 80 thefts, and that also includes theft from vehicles, 24 trespassings, 5 weapon violations, and those are the quality of life reports. For 2021, we have 97 assaults, 6 banning violations. That was a decrease. 13 breaking and entering reports, 19 CDS violations. That was also a decrease. Do you want to hear the decreases?
Sure.
All right. 14 shooting complaints. Again, all of these were unfounded. There was no evidence, and there was a decrease in these types of complaints. These are complaints where there's no victim. 16 destruction of property reports. That's a decrease. 109 disorderly conduct. That's a decrease. There was 1 gambling call that remained the same. 22 intoxicated subjects. That was an increase. 11 loitering complaints, decrease. 16 neighborhood disputes, 6 robberies, that was a decrease. 45 suspicious subjects, that was a decrease. And the thefts and thefts from vehicles remain the same, that's at 80. 12 trespassing, that's a decrease. 8 weapon violations, that's an increase by 2. And for this year so far, we have 17 assaults, 9 CDS violations, 5 destruction of properties, 24 disorderly conducts, 1 indecent exposure, 4 intoxicated subjects, 2 neighbor disputes, 2 robberies, 6 suspicious subjects, 12 thefts, which also includes thefts from vehicles, and 3 trespassings. Overall, in HOCO, in Howard County, from 2020 to 2021, there were decreases in burglaries, motor vehicle thefts. And when you compare the aggravated assaults from 2021 to a 4-year average, there's a decrease. Robbery decreased and arson decreased. So I went over those stats. Give me a second here.
Okay.
And that does it for stats.
I can chime. I know a lot of those stats. They seem like they're kind of high, especially like the assaults. But the department doesn't differ from it being a assault outside or an assault inside a house, maybe on a domestic. So those assaults are also included in those numbers. So it's not like all those assaults are when people are like walking around and get assaulted, or if kids are outside and they assault each other. It also includes domestics. So that's also why those are seem a little high. The same thing with like thefts and destruction of properties. Those also include if, you know, your brother came to your house and stole something from you. That's considered a theft. But that's, again, it's kind of like a domestic thing. Destruction of property also includes if your brother came over and smashed your window out. It's nothing like a stranger did it to you. It's more intimate, domestic. So I know they seem a little bit high, but a lot of those categories kind of like mix in together.
Yep. And so if anyone wishes to contact me for anything at all, any complaints in the neighborhood, or really anything in Howard County in general, you can contact me at mpaul@howardcountymd.gov. My work cell phone is 410-703-2372. And you can text this line, you can call. My desk phone is 410-313-2614. And for emergencies, call 911. The non-emergency line, because I don't work all the time, is 410-313-2200. And our crime tip line is 410-313-STOP. And this is all the information I brought today. Any questions?
Thank you. Bill?
Yes, thank you, Officer, for the rundown. Appreciate that a great deal. And very interesting, your background, Marine and criminology, Baltimore City. You've been around and have a lot of experience, which is great. Thank you. The question I have is about I think, juvenile behavior, some issues, and you said you took care of it, or the officers took care of it. Could you expand on that a little bit? What kind of behavior was it? And then what did you do to intervene, resolve it, et cetera?
Well, I'll say recently, and I can't give out too much information because they're juveniles. There was a robbery at Blandair Park, and there was an apprehension. We were able to get items back, and we did everything on scene, and none of the victims were hurt, but they had their items taken, and we got those items back and apprehended that suspect.
I think another thing I can say about the juveniles, I know back in 2018 and 19, when we had this meeting, I spoke about certain groups we were having issues with, especially over by the Sam's Mart. And I know that the cameras in the outer barn, a couple of times we looked at them because the juveniles were either hanging out in the back or they ran by the streets. So believe it or not, that same group has grown up a little bit. A lot of the ones back in 2018, 2019 are actually incarcerated now. I'm not sure if you're aware of something that the county exec just put out. I think on Tuesday that we did a initiative because there was violent crime in the county. So a lot of that initiative was targeted towards certain offenders that continue to offend, and a couple of them were from Oakland Mills. So that took away a lot of crime from Oakland Mills, which was a good thing. But those young kids we were dealing with in 2019, 2018 have grown up, and now they're still 16, 17. And I think those are the ones that Officer Paul was talking about that we're still having some issues with. But we're being successful in addressing, their actions and stuff like that with like bannings and I think meeting with parents and the school, and also like he said, he met with the Interfaith Center just to try to do something a little bit different rather than always just enforcement, arrest, and all that.
Sandy and then Lynn?
Hey, can you describe what are some of the types of neighbor disputes that you get?
So I really don't dig in those calls too much because usually the patrol officer takes care of it on scene. I haven't had to get involved in one yet, so I don't have too much information on that.
Okay.
Lynn?
The concern that I have is what seemed to be kind of a rash of violent crimes, where we had some 2 or 3 fatal shootings. And I'm wondering when you're talking about, does that come under the heading of assault or shooting or both, or is it a separate thing altogether? And can you shed any light on if you think there's any pattern to that and what's being done about it? I mean, one thing I've really been pleased with, I see police much more in evidence in the community. I see them out on the paths and, in patrol cars and so forth, and that's reassuring. But I'd just like to hear from your point of view what you think about what gets reported in the news.
So I believe that crime report will be an aggravated assault. The Oakland Mills community hasn't had that issue in regards to shooting this year or anything like that. It's the surrounding neighborhoods in Columbia, and it sounds like you're aware of it. We are doing saturation patrols. You've seen it. We've been out. We've been conducting enforcement. I can't really say too much about active investigations, but coming from another agency, the detectives here are really good, and I can tell you that they're on top of it. I just can't get too much into that information. But the saturation patrols, yeah, we're out on the paths, we're walking foot in the village centers, we're conducting enforcement, and we're getting out there and identifying people.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions? Rena?
Yeah, are there any concerns about gang activity in Oakland Mills? Because when I talk to some of the other property managers, like in Long Reach and over by Harper House, are we seeing any significant increase in that?
In terms of gang crimes, I'm currently unaware of anything in Oakland Mills of a gang crime being committed this year. I can't give too much information out, but I'll say that I'm always investigating groups of people who may be involved in gangs. I have a few active investigations now, but there hasn't been any immediate response needed by me. I'm still investigating, but for gang crimes, I'm unaware of any gang crimes that have been committed this year.
Okay, good.
I think, hey, Rena, how are you?
Oh, how you doing? Officer Paul is doing a wonderful job. Who am I speaking to now?
Officer Lopez.
Oh, how you doing?
Pretty good. What I can say about that whole gang is if you go on to either our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, you will find a press release that was released this past Tuesday or last Tuesday, I believe, that the county exec and our PIO, the sheriff's office, and our chief did reference gang-related activity and how the department handled a certain situation, in case you're interested in that type of stuff.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, other questions? I have one, but I'm holding on to it. All right, I'll go. You're probably aware that last fall we had two vehicle on pedestrian accidents at the intersection of Stevens Forest and Kilimanjaro. One involved a student at the middle school who I guess a car did not yield in the crosswalk. And we've been in touch with the county, roadways, and we've even had someone out and kind of looked at that intersection. And we're on the record. We feel that improvements could be made. No one really obeys the no turn on red sign. We're not even sure if people can really see it, unless it's broad daylight because of the way it sits back there in the trees. And there really isn't even anything there that gives the usual warning about yielding to pedestrians in the crosswalk, and a couple have been hit. So number one, thank you for the increased traffic patrols. I'm wondering if there's if you have the ability to have more of a presence there around that time of the morning when Oakland Mills High and Oakland Mills Middle are letting kids in, because that's when there's a lot of car and pedestrian activity. And the other question I have is there anything you can do to support us, or we can do to support you, to maybe get some improvements to the signage and the signaling, at that intersection and really throughout Stevens Forest Road? That's something I know Warren has been working on a lot, and the whole board has been interested in, really what's going on with traffic on Stevens Forest Road, and whether people on bikes or on foot are really safe in those bike lanes or crossing at a variety of these intersections.
So our crash reports, the reports that we take every time there's an accident or an accident involving a pedestrian, any auto vehicle accident, it actually the locations get grouped together. The traffic section takes care of all this, but we do keep track of statistical data on where these crashes are happening, the pedestrians, how often it happens, how often it involves a pedestrian or more than one vehicle, and the traffic unit gets that information, and the county, and usually they make changes to those roadways proactively. I can talk to the traffic unit about this because I've heard this issue numerous times.
Yeah, I know.
I think how I can remedy this.
Yeah, well, I know at some point we had an issue at Kilimanjaro, I think in Pamplona, I think it was, where we had citizens complaining about the speeders, which also corresponded with the intersection issues. And we did notify the traffic section, and they did do I believe a 3-month study on speed and violations. And throughout that study, I think they ended up assigning their Southern District traffic officer during certain hours to come out and do traffic enforcement. And that's one officer. He's in an unmarked car, and that's all he does, and he's great at it. His name is Officer Johansson. And he's been doing it over in Cradle Rock Way also, because we had issues over there. But in reference to like the signage, that's a tough thing to remedy. And I know we went through something similar over at Stevens Forest and Whiteacre and in Basket Ring a couple of years ago, where we successfully put up all those signs for the parking on the road, which was great. That was great teamwork between us and you guys and the traffic enforcement through the county. So I think if you guys really push to put up signs somewhere, and we have the statistics to provide you with, and we can push the county to put up another sign, at an intersection, we can try doing that. But it is difficult, and I'm sure you guys remember how difficult it was to put up signs in that other location, and it was so obvious.
Right.
So we can try, and Officer Paul will work towards that, and we'll see what happens with that.
Okay. What
Yeah.
about even like going back to Stevens Forest and Kilimanjaro? Do you have anything to do with advising on reconfiguration of the traffic signals? What one thing pedestrian and bicyclist advocate with the county suggested to us is that there should be a lead interval on the walk signals at that intersection, and we haven't even been able to get traction on that, which actually sounds like it's just probably a programming thing. But you know, I take my daughter to Oakland Mills High just about every morning. I was there today, and there was a poor kid on a skateboard stuck out in the middle of the intersection because all the cars were just turning, and he was standing there, you know, stuck. And it's a good thing he's paying attention, because he could have been the next one hit if he had just, you know, darted out from that median and continued on his way up Kilimanjaro toward the school.
So we are actually having a schedule change. And now I'll be able to work more days around 8 a.m. throughout the week, because usually every Tuesday we work 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then the rest of the days it's an evening shift. So now I can actually, that gives me an opportunity to do more enforcement at those intersections. I have gotten this complaint a lot, and once that change happens, one thing you will see is me out there in the morning.
Right. Thanks.
Sir.
Oh, in reference to the lights and the timing and stuff like that, that's a county thing. There's some, I know they do studies at intersections, and at certain times during the day they're supposed to go for a certain length, and then, you know, through the middle of the day when there's less traffic they switch over. But I'm not sure when the last time the study was done at that intersection. We can check with our traffic section to see how that can be conducted, or if we can find out when the last time it was conducted, to see if it's be done again.
Yeah, because it seems like whenever we raise something, they focus on the overall volume, you know, or average volume on Stevens Forest Road, and they don't really pay attention to those, you know, peak periods when, you know, 1,400 kids go to the high school, 800 or so, maybe that's a little high, but several hundred kids go to the middle school. So, you know, there's a small window of each day, of each morning and each afternoon, when, you know, the averages just don't apply. And, you know, that's when a lot of these situations are happening. And I think that's what they sort of fail to recognize when they look at their statistics.
Yeah, I think they try to increase the crossing guards, the number of crossing guards.
Oh yeah.
But we keep getting this issue. So
Okay.
I'm optimistic that the schedule change will help. And I know it may seem kind of silly, but once people start getting traffic citations over and over and over again, and people know a corner, make sure you stop all the way. The police are always here. I'm hoping I can do that at those corners around those schools and crosswalks during the schedule change that we
Okay,
have.
great. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Are there any further questions?
I have a question for Mr. McCormick. Mr. McCormick, how are your girls doing?
I had practice tonight. Well, girls, my soccer team, I have a 4th, 5th grade girls soccer team and a 7th, 8th grade girls soccer team. I came from practice quite early there to be here on time. We start our season April 1st, and the kids are looking very, very good. I've got several coaches. They're all saying kids are looking good, working hard. So thanks for asking. I appreciate it.
Good luck to you, and thank you
Yeah.
guys.
Thank
All
you.
right, well,
real quick,
Bill.
Officer Lopez, real quick. Do any of your kids play soccer?
Too little.
Too little? Okay. When you have the girls start 3rd, 4th grade, I'll be ready.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, gentlemen, you get off the hot seat a little early tonight. Thank you very much. And again, if there's anything we can do to help you, never hesitate to reach out. We appreciate these annual visits at least. And, if there's any need for us to collaborate more often or talk, we obviously have your information now, and you know how to find us. So please don't be a stranger.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, we're going to move on to the next item, and that is it's a whole board item, but I guess it's a Sandy presenting item, and that is the draft fiscal 23 budget. So this is the introduction of the fiscal 23 budget that we will ultimately have to set at one of our last two meetings of this term in April, so that the new board coming in for the new fiscal year in May has a fiscal year 23 budget to work with. So Sandy, you want to go ahead and walk us through the highlights?
No.
Okay, moving on.
We're done. I'm tired. Okay, so I'll just go through it all. The revenues are the monies that we take in as an association. The annual charge base share is what we receive from CA, and it's a formula that was created about 4 years ago. It'll be looked at again in another year, and it's a lot of variables, and all the villages get a certain amount of money based on size, population, square footage of buildings. So that's the calculation for that. Medical reimbursement is how much they give us back for the employees that have health benefits. Other reimbursement, CA provides a portion of our gas bill from the Stevens Forest Neighborhood Center because it gas heats their pool. So for 5 months of the year, they pay the gas portion minus $60 that we pay. So that's about average. It'll probably be more next year because the utilities are going up, but I don't know what it'll be. That's about average of what it should be. Room rentals are rentals of, how do I get it not blue? Well, okay. Rentals of the other barn, rentals of the neighborhood centers. So we're estimating a lot more. It's based on, I look at everything based on what we've earned in 9 months of this past year and then calculate what I think the full year will be. But for rentals, I'm actually looking back to 2000 and FY20, which was almost a full year just prior to COVID in March of 2020, because that was our last normal year. So I'm basing our rental income on that figure and how much we've made this year. Next year pretty much will mirror this year. Our active rental season is May through the first few weeks in November, and then a few rentals in the winter. Leases are the leases that we have are 2 leases, and that's at the Talbot Springs Neighborhood Center and the Stevens Forest Neighborhood Center. There's a preschool and a pre-K. And that's nice because that's their new tenants and their rent is higher than it was previously. And retained deposits, it's based on about 4 cancellations of the other barn where they've given us each a $350 security deposit. So once we have their deposit, they cancel, we retain that money. It doesn't happen a lot, but it'll probably be about 4 times this year. And all this is based on a normal year. If COVID rears its ugly head, all of that goes out the window and we'll start losing revenue for rentals. Interest, that's not going to make us or break us. Special events is what we take in for special events. And it would include the plant sale revenue, it would include Jazz in the Mills, it would include holiday event, any other event where we might charge something for the festival, vendors buy tables. So that is all calculated in that. Notary, pretty much we're phasing out the notary at the building just because it requires taking a class and doing a lot of stuff through the state. Mine is almost expired and I'm not going to renew mine. I'm not sure what Charlotte and Brigida will do, but not a lot of people are coming in, and there's a lot of places people can get notaries if Charlotte and Brigida want to go ahead and take the class. But I'm not making them, so I'm not sure what will happen with that. Sales is the income from homeowner packets. It's less than what we had for last year because now the packets are online. So that's great. We don't need to generate money from that. And it's very easy for realtors and home sellers to go online and get that. So the bottom line in income is $530,475 for expenses. And so much of this is fixed that, again, I base it on what I think this year will be as a full year. And then I also am looking at 2020, and I'm also looking at increased costs in utilities, which had started about 2 months ago. Staff salaries, they're not a lot different. And actually, I think we're going to end the year below that budgeted number. We are having just staff Monday through Thursday at the front desk from 10 to 4, and Fridays working remotely. We're all, by email, people can reach us by phone. We're open right now 2 Saturdays a month in the morning to give tours, and we'll be open at night only when we have a reason to. If we have meetings that are starting to go back live, if we have the Federation of the Blind that meets once a month. And then if we have wedding rehearsals that we give a free hour to, we have staff that'll be there for that, but we're just not going to open every night and staff the building. We can save, about $15,000 in just little cutbacks like that and still function as a community. Janitorial wages are what our staff gets for special things they do, like setting up some chairs for weddings and stuff. It just adds up over the year with all the rentals that we have. Contract labor is our bookkeeper, basically. That's pretty much the only contract labor that we have. Payroll benefits and taxes are based on what we think our payroll will be and salaries. Cleaning is our cleaning service that does our cleaning at the other barn a few days a week. The neighborhood centers on a Sunday, and that's when he cleans. Setup and breakdown is for, again, our cleaning service to do the main table and chairs set up in the rooms for our events. Supplies is cleaning supplies. Accounting is accounting. It's a little more because we have an audit this year, so I expect that we'll have an extra accounting bill. Performance or legal is just an estimate. If we have any legal expenses, I put something in there. You never know. I mean, it could be one thing that, we're going to have a lawyer spend thousands of dollars. There's just no way of knowing. Let's hope that we don't. This year, we do have our audit. I think there was money in our accrued or our cash reserve that we could have accrued somehow. And so it's probably a balancing act on the books, and I can't explain it to you truthfully. The accountant could. The web is to keep updated with different software programs. Amy's had to purchase different kinds of programs to do online forms, to do fillable forms, and to keep our old website going. It's possible that we might need to look at purchasing a new website, but I'm not sure. It'll be next year, though we probably will look into it next year. Other is fees associated with, just an overview, is recycling, payroll fees, memberships to Costco, fees for police doing checks on our building, just any kind of fees were charged, fees for Amazon, fees for the Baltimore Sun, just any kind of fee goes into other. Office supplies, we actually group it all into program supplies. It's just supplies. I'm not differentiating what ream of paper is used for what. Cost of goods sold is purchasing the CA packet. It's $4 a packet that the homeowners get. It's also online, but we do prepare some hard copies. Postage is postage. Staff development is Leadership Howard County fee that I'm a member of. And other operating expenses there is, I don't have a good breakdown, but bank fees, credit card fees, basically those fees. Let's see, where are we? Mileage, food. I'm thinking that we might be back. We might have an event that the board is hosting. So I put in something for food, and other is usually shirts, business cards, gifts. It's all inclusive of that. Insurance is insurance. We have workers' comp. We have general liability insurance. Advertising is basically the wedding wire, the not online advertising, which is where we get pretty much like 90% or more of our rentals. And I've had to advertise for jobs recently on some websites. So that's advertising. We no longer have a newsletter in the flyer, so that is zero. Other printing is right now taking the homeowner packet, because we do want to keep about 15 on hand, and I've taken it to Staples. It's 81 pages, so it's getting that put together. Donations, I put in a number of 5,000. Special events is what we spend on special events: buying the plants, paying for the performers, paying for the musicians, any monies for the pool parties we spend, the holiday parties. If we had a volunteer event, which we hope to have, that's where that comes in. Taxes are the property taxes or personal property that we pay to Howard County that we should get back. And that's always a struggle. They're very good at taking our money, not as good as timely reimbursement. Gas and electric, we were told to estimate about 20 to 25% increase over last year. Water and sewer probably will stay around the same. In our telephone, we have a contract, and that's pretty much unchanged with Comcast. Building is repair and maintenance to any building things, toilets, things that are not equipment that you can operate, sinks, toilets, lights, that kind of stuff. It adds up. Equipment is dumbwaiter, elevator, ice machine. We're getting new kitchen equipment, so that might be lower in the end because we won't have, hopefully, charges for that. Sprinkler servicing, just anything building related. Furniture and fixtures, again, I don't know what we'll spend. We're pretty set, but we might need tables and chairs to replace what's there. So in the end, it would look like we have a decrease in our budget, with expenses being, hold on, 530, 475. Actually, and we would come out with $124 over what our expenses are. And again, it's a budget, so it's a calculation that is variable, but we try to base it on past expenses. So this is the first draft. You can look at it. I would hope that, I can't get rid of that blue, by the first meeting in April, we can hopefully pass it, so we're not leaving it for the last meeting, but it can also be done at the last meeting. So are there questions? Jonathan, you're mute.
I was going to say, if there are any questions or also comments for Sandy now that she can consider between this meeting and the next meeting, you know, as much as we can address or have Sandy address in the couple of weeks before the next meeting, you know, we can be that much more confident in what we're being asked to pass the next meeting, and also efficient in just the conversation before we pass it. So if anyone has any immediate reaction, we have some time. Otherwise, you know, please also don't hesitate to send Sandy questions between now and the next meeting, and just make sure you're copying the board so we're all aware of, you know, the answers to those questions so that Sandy's not getting duplicate questions.
Sandy, thank you. I have one question. Can you tell me more about the audit? Like, who is
Okay.
doing that?
Okay, every 3 years, and that this is spelled out in the management contract that the villages have with CA. We have to have a company perform an audit. So this is our year, and the villages contract with an accounting firm. We had put out bids and contract with them to cover like the whole, like a 9-year period of 9 villages or every 3 years. So that is the audit, and it's a requirement, and it's good. You know, we should. And so that is what the audit is. And this is our year.
So it's every 3 years.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. So there's 3 villages, 9 of us participate. 1 village gets their own auditor company, but so 3 villages each year. And so that's a 3-year cycle. And then we look for, you know, put out bids again. So that's what the audit is.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Right, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Sandy, and thank you as always for managing the financials so well.
Try. You're welcome.
All right, next up on the agenda, we have an item for Rebecca, timekeeping guideline for OMCA board meetings.
Yeah, I am not quite sure how to go about doing this, I guess, but sorry, I'm sitting somewhere different today. But I noticed while watching some CA meetings how smoothly it ran, because I recognize that as our board is currently set up, the chair is responsible for doing the agenda, calling on people, and timekeeping, which is a lot in order to run the whole meeting. And some of our meetings recently always get carried away with people talking, you know, for a while, and I want to be able to have that discussion. But watching the CA, they have somebody who is not the chair responsible for timekeeping, and they have, you know, like whatever 5 minutes for the original thing and then 3 minutes for comments thereafter, and the timekeeper is on top of it. When, you know, your couple minutes are done, they say, okay, you're done. And I think it's really important, valuing and respecting everybody's time on the board, to not have meetings that go until 9:30 if we can avoid it. And so I was thinking that we should consider having somebody other than the chair responsible for keeping the time so that we can stick to schedules and get to bed. So I don't know what to do about that. If it needs to be a motion, if it's just something everybody agrees to, or, you know.
Well, it's nothing we could vote on tonight anyway, so we don't need a motion. It's right, Jonathan?
No, well, if it's new business, I mean, if we're going to adopt a policy or something like that, it has to come back as old business. I have thoughts, but let me go last as always. Lynn?
Yeah, I think this is a good idea. I think it's great to hold people. I think sometimes after people have said what they want to say, they just kind of elaborate on it and restate it, and I'm guilty of it as much as anyone. And but I'm wondering, are you thinking of this as being something that we'd have OMCA staff do, or a board member would volunteer to take that on as their responsibility during the meetings? Or how are you visualizing this working? Or have you gotten that far?
Well, the way CA does it is it's just another board member. I know Amy's busy taking notes and Sandy's busy trying to keep track of all the information she's trying to get to us. So I wouldn't necessarily put it on their shoulders.
CA rotates. It's a different board member each time.
Yeah, so it's not like one person is always responsible. But, you know, I'm open to anyway.
Yeah, and then I noticed, I think I noticed, and maybe it wasn't a CA meeting, maybe it was another meeting, that there was actually a clock there so that you could see, or anyone talking could see that their time was kind of clicking down, so they could self-regulate as well. Am I seeing that right, Jonathan? Have you noticed that at all?
For the members of the board or during like a resident speak out?
Both.
Both. I can't, now I can't recall what I know both CA and like the county and the Board of Education run a clock for resident speak out. I've lost track of how each different entity manages their other time.
Yeah, because you're not seeing the board meeting like in person, like if we were in that same room, but at the CA board meeting, and they each member it's their week, their meeting, they are the timekeeper. And so it's up to them to tell the person when their time is up. I don't know in person
Now
clock, but I've not been there.
I mean, I guess then, you know, this maybe gets a little more complicated because right now we do an agenda where we designate a block of time to each order of business. We don't really assign an amount of time to each member of the board who has the floor. So we'd have to also think about how to do that. Otherwise, how are you keeping the time other than saying, you know, there's 1 minute left in the 10-minute agenda item and maybe only one person has spoken. So I think we need to think about that as well. And we need to think of that also in the context of the size of our board, because we basically have 9 people right now, 9 people who can participate in any item of discussion, right? We have 7 voting board members, we have a CA representative, and we have a village manager, you know, who are all basically authorized to speak as part of board business. So, you know,
Yeah.
I think we have to think about how you allocate enough time so that everyone has their opportunity to speak if they take it, and then fit that within the confines of the time allotted to that item on the agenda.
So I don't know if this is how CA did it or if this is just what my mind jumped to after I watched them do it, but something like where you have an initial amount of time. So I think most new items probably only need 5 minutes or less of introduction, right? So for example, I would get 5 minutes to introduce this idea, and then everybody commenting would get 3 minutes to comment the first time. And then if there was, you know, cause for them to comment again, then maybe just 1 more minute. But that would prevent, you know, I'm going to pick on you, Lynn, because for some reason your video is up. You know, Lynn would say her piece for 3 minutes and then somebody else would talk, and then she would talk again for another 3 minutes, and then somebody else would talk, and then she would talk again, you know. So like the first time you talk, you get 3 minutes, and then your secondary comment or follow-up comment would get like 1 more minute or something like that. Because I want to be able to have discussions and share opinions and ask questions. But you know, yeah.
I mean, just to point out, you know, I'm playing devil's advocate just to point out what like even that could lead to.
Yeah.
In the scenario I just laid out where we have 9 people who can speak, if the first person gets 5 minutes and each gets 3, that means every business item it has to be allotted at least 29 minutes on the agenda, which means we may not be able to cover as much in meetings unless you know, we get lucky and people don't want to speak, but we can't plan on people not speaking, you know. So the way we do it now, we sort of try to assign times, and then I agree, it's difficult to keep track, and I know items run over, and sometimes I'll say, hey, we're well beyond the time on this, we just need to move on. But if we're going to allot everyone, you know, some amount of time, and then some amount of response time, you know, depending on the size of the board, you're basically looking at maybe automatic half-hour allocations to each item of business on the agenda.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mean, at least the way it's worked on when I've watched CA do it, not everybody talks on everything. I mean, and I don't see why putting the limits would not suddenly make everybody have an opinion on everything that they need to share. And maybe that 3 minutes.
Oh, I agree. But just for planning the agenda, and I don't know whether CA has a standard that says they will end at a certain time, because they'll go way later than we do often. But if we're going to stick to our 7 to 9 window, we can't assume that not everyone will talk. We have to assume everyone will talk, because you have to give the opportunity once you have the rule, which means if we're going to stick to the 7 to 9 and do that, we have to watch the number of items on the agenda. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wish Ginny were here so she could tell us how that
Yeah.
works. Warren has his hand up.
Oh, okay. The CA
But
board
just
meeting.
as an
late.
example, as I look at our agenda tonight, if we allocated, you know, the person introducing 5 and everyone else 3, never mind the 1-minute response time, we basically say, okay, 30 minutes for the police, 30 minutes for the budget, 30 minutes for timekeeping. Maybe old business could be shorter because we've already talked about it as new business, and that's it. You know, that basically that there would be our 7 to 9 window. I just want to, I'm not saying we shouldn't. I just want to make sure we're considering what it would look like if we went, you know, all the way toward what they do. Because what they don't really have is they don't really have what we have, which is that kind of target time to end the meeting. You know, there have been CA meetings that have gone late into the night.
Yeah, but their agendas have a lot more on their agenda. I mean, the ones that I've watched, you know, they have 20 different items on their agenda that they cover on that time, and we don't have that much.
Warren and then Lynn.
Right. I think this is a good idea, Rebecca. Thank you. And I would be happy to volunteer to be a timekeeper for one of those if it ever gets to that. Yeah, I just think it's important that 2 hours is enough twice a month, because I've talked to other boards and they only do 2 hours once a month, and they most of them. So I think it's to have that much commitment from us seems like a lot. I think we need to just work at organizing our agenda so that we don't take too much on at any meeting, so we don't have a lot of 10 o'clock meetings. That's just my thoughts.
Okay, Lynn, I honestly didn't think we were going that late that often, but I'll go back and look. I'll go back and look at minutes at when we adjourned, but I mean, we've had some scheduled late because we had something come up, but normally I didn't think so. Lynn?
I wonder if we can't just make it a little easier, and if we allot, you know, 20 minutes, 15 minutes for a second topic, we could then just at the end of that time, you know, okay, sorry, we don't have time for anybody else to speak. I mean, you know, you know, and tell people, you know, we really need to kind of monitor how much time you're spending to realize that there are 3 other people with their hands up. You know, I think we could be a little looser with it in that way.
Okay, Sandy?
I would like to think that, and it seems like a lot of you want this, rather than coming up with a policy, why don't we take the next meeting and try it? You know, someone volunteer to be the timekeeper, and 3 minutes to me is a long time. Maybe we start with 2 minutes and 1 minute, but we should try it and see if it makes a difference before we go into a policy.
That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Bill?
Yes, Sandy, I think that's a good idea. Beyond that, I think there are 2 issues. One is our own individual self-discipline to be concise and to the point when we speak. And the second is there are times when a topic is very important and there's a lot more that needs to be explored with the topic. So it might be 20 minutes on the agenda, but to do it justice, we need to go to 30 or 35. And I'm concerned about time limits, fitting things into time limits. I'd rather do the other way around and have the time fit the topic, okay, so that it's flexible. And I feel Jonathan's been doing an excellent job of managing the meetings. I think we're getting out some before 9, some after 9. I think the latest for a long time has been about 9:25 or 9:30. And the reason I know, or feel I know, okay, we'd have to check the record, is there's a TV show on at 9 o'clock on the History Channel called The Curse of Oak Island, and I love it. And okay, the latest I've been tuning into that's about 9:25, I think. Usually I'm in there about 9:10 or sometimes before 9. So I think we're keeping fairly close to a 7 to 9. And I understand the importance of being timely and on time and getting things done. But I'm concerned about artificially limiting topics that really need more time as we get into them. Thanks.
All right, other questions, comments? Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth trying at the next meeting. You know, maybe we can't, you know, go all the way to figuring out exactly how much time each person should have. But I think if we had someone, you know, kind of paying attention to the clock over the course of the discussion and, you know, maybe giving the, you know, you're halfway through the time on this one, you're 3/4 of the way through, you're down to the last minute. I think that could be very helpful, at least to start, and then see how that goes and flesh it out from there.
Do you want to put it on the, as old business, or we're just going to know that
No,
we're
we'll
going to
just try
try it? Okay.
We're agreeing as a board that we'll try.
Okay.
It's not really the business of the association. It's just
Right.
how we,
We'll just
you know,
try
how
it.
we want to try something, how we want to try something at a meeting. Yeah. All right. Anything else on that? Okay. Well, now we
We're
will go to
4 minutes
old
early.
business. Stop. Now we will go to old business. So the one thing on old business is something I brought up at the last meeting, and that's whether we want to reopen fiscal 22 donations. And the reason I've actually thought about this for the past few years, because it seems for the past few years, we've, you know, followed our donation policy. And by the way, I've thought about reopening the donation policy, but I think that should wait for the next board. I don't like, you know, changing something like that with, you know, 1 month left in the old board. But what it seems happens is, you know, we established that policy several years back. Bill and I were around for that. Lynn, this might even be before you were on the board. And the idea was just to, you know, just to have some control and kind of, you know, level the playing field, right? Instead of getting hit with random things throughout the year and not knowing how to, you know, spend the money that we had allocated to donations, we'll make them all due April 15th, make them all due October 15th, consider them all at once, disperse our money, maybe hold some over for emergencies, and that's that. The reality of the situation is, and a lot of this is thanks to Sandy's shrewd financial management, we usually get the third quarter financials and find out we're a lot better off than, you know, we thought we would be. That's what's happened for the past several years. The other reality is we have organizations. I mean, we've primarily given to education, although we do give to others, but we have organizations where that timing just doesn't seem to align well with what they're faced with. And I, you know, I talked about one that came in before the last meeting. Another one actually came in before this meeting, and I wrote back to them and I said, hey, you know, technically this is our policy. But, you know, sometimes when we have extra funds, we could consider it. No promises. We're actually talking about it at the board meeting. So, you know, in the short run, we're facing that situation again, where we came in much better this year than the original budget would have suggested. Again, thanks to good management from Sandy. Also, you know, thanks to some things opening up more, so revenue was a little bit better than before. So we're in a position where we could consider additional donations. So what I wanted to put on for old business today is, do we want to consider additional donations? Because if we do, we basically have 2 meetings left in which we can do that. And we have not put out any kind of solicitation for additional donation requests. They've just found their way to us because organizations are getting toward the end of their year and going, oh my gosh, we might be coming up a little bit short. You know, can OMCA help us? So that's why I wanted to put it on old business, because, you know, making the decision about whether we want to consider more donations tonight still allows us the time to consider those donation requests. Lynn?
As I remember, there were several people who asked us to give them donations, that we were only able to give them a portion of what they
Yes.
wanted. And we kind of put a little, asterisk by it, thinking to ourselves that we could come back to it exactly as you say now.
You're
So
correct. I forgot there's also that.
and do we have a list of those, of the people that we kind of had said, well, we'll give you some of it and we try to do something later? Didn't tell them that, but we told ourselves that.
Yeah, Sandy has it. Right, Sandy? Sandy, you're talking on mute.
You're
I'm
mute.
going to say that Sandy is saying, yes, I have that list. Absolutely. Sandy, you're still muted. All right, Sandy has used up her time. Rebecca?
Yeah, I'm not muted. I don't mind reconsidering as long as we put it out there and give other people an opportunity to make new requests, not just take these extra requests that have come in. Do you know what I mean? Like,
That's exactly what I meant. Yeah, I mean,
then-
these extra requests that came in were unsolicited. So the response I gave to them was, our policy says October 15th, we'll let you know if something about that changes. Not, thanks, we'll take this under consideration.
yeah, it'll be tricky wording because we can't exactly say, we've had a windfall and we have extra money to spend. Tell us what you want. But I'm sure we can come up with something.
Oh,
Just
I
to
think
say we're revisiting our donations.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to give a big explanation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They can look at our financial reports that are attached to the minutes.
And it would have to be a quick turnaround thing. So people would have to see it and, respond quickly. What I don't think we should consider is, before our very last meeting of the year, we get someone saying, oh my gosh, we missed the date. We're so desperate. Please help us. No, sorry. Now there were 2 chances this year. We have to draw the line somewhere because we have responsibility to consider things carefully. Sandy, we couldn't hear you when I was asking the question about whether you have the records of the
I do. I
donations
just
that-
I don't have it. I want to not put it up tonight on the screen because I want to go back
No.
to the request in our minutes and make sure I have it correctly, but I do have it.
No, all I was looking for tonight by bringing the donations back is old business, because it's basically revisiting the budget from, way back when, was, do we want to do this? Because if we do want to do this, you can pull that list together, send it to us, and then we
Right.
can also put out the word, tomorrow, saying, hey, you have until the Monday before the next board meeting. I don't even know the dates, something like that.
Mhm.
To-
We have
to
3
send in a
weeks, which is
request.
good.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, that's why I can't think of the date. I'm good at 2 weeks. I'm
It's
not thinking we have the extra.
the 12th of April.
Okay.
Does anyone want to say anything? Hurry up, time's ticking. Too much silence.
What do you need from us? Do you need us to vote?
We probably should, since we have the policy that says October 15th, and unlike previous years where we just said, let's just, cut a check to the 5 PTAs. We're not doing that. We're actually considering setting a second donation request deadline. So I think that is best. So I can do it. I'm going to motion that we set a second fiscal 22 donation deadline of hang on, let me pull up the calendar. You know how I am with calendars. I'm going to motion that we set up a second donation request deadline of 5 p.m. on Friday, October the March.
April.
No, Friday,
April.
April. See, I'm still on the October 15th thing. Another deadline of Friday, April the 8th, 5 p.m. Friday, April the 8th, for additional donation considerations from the Oakland Mills Community Association. All other parts of the policy would remain in effect. They have to state the purpose. They have to give us their 501c3 number, all that stuff. And we would also bring back for consideration those that we received by the October 15th deadline that we weren't able to fund fully or fund at all.
I second.
All right, is there further discussion on that? Okay, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Linda, do you vote? Or is Jennifer raising, or
Yeah,
Jennifer,
I'm
are you
gonna-
voting or raising your hand? I'm confused because the tiles moved around. Hang on, let me, Jennifer, was that a vote or are you trying to comment?
It was a vote. Sorry, guys.
Oh,
My
okay,
internet is coming
Let
out.
me do it again then. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, they moved again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, all opposed? Okay, abstain? Okay, 6, 0, 1. All right. Next up is, the board chair report. Okay, so this one, I think I can be pretty quick with this one because I don't have a lot of news. Following up on my board chair report of 2 weeks ago, I have not received a response from the owner of NYC Pizza. So I don't know if he's firm in his decision or he just doesn't want to share what the situation is or what, but I tried and didn't get a response. I did go in and talk to the owner of Pizza Man. He did tell me that his issue with the health department is a year and a half ago. He applied to use that other kitchen to prepare Indian food. First, it sounds like the application was lost, so he had to prove to the health department that he did indeed apply, and he had like the canceled check to show he paid the fee. And then like some staffing turned over at the health department, and that got delayed. And he's basically just, he was at the counter telling me he's fed up. He's never seen it take this long, especially given that he has an established kitchen, and he's running a clean operation, and all he's asking for is to expand it so he can offer another line of food. And again, he contrasted that with what happens in Baltimore County, where you basically put the application in, they come out and check things, and as long as you're good, you're done. There's none of this, I lost the check, the staffing turned over, we'll get to you eventually. Now, this is all happening as I'm talking to him across the counter. So I did give him my card and I said, could you please write up the timeline for me and kind of list the events that happened on the timeline so that we can, actually package this up and perhaps take this to our council representative or take it to the county executive's office, to see what we can do to help a small business in Howard County. He has not done that yet. So I'm going to follow up with him again and remind him I really need the timeline, because I couldn't stand there and take notes on all the details while he was rattling them off, because they were coming out of the top of his head. He didn't have exact dates or exactly, who he had interacted with or anything like that. So I will remind him again of that. So that's the follow-up on my last report.
Jonathan?
Yes.
I was up at the bulletin board today, and there was someone mopping the floor in NYC Pizza, so I knocked on it and I said, "Is this place going to open again?" And he said, "No, he has another place. This one's for sale."
Okay. I guess he's selling the business.
The
thing.
business. He
lease.
leases it, so I guess he's selling the business.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if someone else wants to buy a pizza shop in a shopping center with 2 other pizza shops. But I guess we'll,
I mean, it has a kitchen, so it really could be.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I will follow up again with Pizza Man, and I will get back to you on whether I can get a really concrete timeline. But it does sound like there's a struggle there in getting some responsiveness from the health department so that he can expand that business. And I think that's everything I have to report, unless anyone has any questions for me. All right. let's see, Ginny still is not here, so we will move right on to Sandy's report.
Okay, next Monday, and first of all, I want to say hi to Jerome, shout out our incoming board member who's here. And next Monday, next Tuesday night, the 5th, is a meet the candidates. So there's 5 of you plus Ginny that are candidates. It's scheduled. I'm not sure how many residents are going to come out to meet you, but will you all be there? Planning on your calendar. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a brief night. And basically it's on the virtual, introduce yourself, take about 3 minutes and say what you want to say. And, then if anyone has questions for the board or individually, we'll try to just keep it to an hour, very low key, but it is scheduled. And there's a link that is in the candidate packet. And I will send out an email with the link again. So I'm just giving
Sandy,
myself a note.
that's in 2 weeks, not next week.
Yeah, 2 weeks. And it's also on the
okay.
website, on the homepage.
2 weeks. Yeah, okay. See, I'm off too with this 3rd week. An update that I got, just a short update on Exxon. It's moving along. It's the county they're preparing their site development plan and final development plan because of some gasoline motor station changes over the years. There has to be a revision to that, and both will be presented at some point to the planning board. But that's just moving ahead. There's nothing that's gotten in the way of that. This Saturday is the cleanup with the help of the class of 2025. Anyone that wants to join us, we're meeting in front of the other barn at 9:00 and walking to the path. People will have trash bags, gloves, and that's what that is. And I have 2 people I'm interviewing. I've done a lot of Zoom interviews, a lot of scheduled when people don't show up. But Brigida and I have 2 people that are coming in next week. I need to hire 2 people for our parties. They seem like really good candidates. If I do a background check on them, and hopefully they'll all work out. And we don't have elections. Really, the only thing upcoming is meet the candidates. And I think that's it. Oh, we're going to have on the 23rd a free shredding truck. And the plant sale is on May 7th. And an outdoor concert for kids will be in the courtyard on May 21st, a Friday morning. Free.
All right. Any questions for Sandy? All right. Thank you, Sandy. Committee reports. Warren, I know Warren submitted something, but did you have information to share as well?
I do. Let me, I've had problems with my printer, so I have to come off this screen here. One of the things I wanted to talk about was the South Entrance Trail project. I got an email from Phil. Thank you, Phil. And he didn't know anything about it. And I guess I haven't. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's a trail, a proposed bike, a multi-use path that goes to Lake Kittamaqundi from Stevens Forest, and it goes under Broken Land and US 29. It actually follows the sewer lines along Little Patuxent River. And it is, despite it being along a sewer, it is an amazingly beautiful trail with lots and lots of wildlife. I've seen fox and raccoons. I've seen lots and lots of birds. It's a very surprisingly wild area in downtown Columbia and very close to downtown. And it would be a great connection for Oakland Mills. So Phil wanted to know what the status of it was, and I had heard about it last fall. I talked to Chris Singleton, who's the DPW engineer who's managing the South Entrance Trail project. And he has said that it's 60% complete in the design phase. And he expects the design plans to be completed this year. And then due to this, it's a very large project, millions of dollars. A full procurement process will be conducted before construction can begin. And he hopes that the infrastructure bill will provide funding for this very cool project. One of the things Phil suggested, and I think it's a great idea, is that we should try to get this out to the Oakland Mills community so they are aware and can support this plan. So perhaps Sandy could include this in one of her emails that goes out.
If you give me the information, because I'm not going to be able to say it the exact way, so that's fine. But I think I'll need to really get like a little map or something, because when you say Stevens Forest Road, you're really talking the other side of Stevens Forest Road, aren't you?
Right, it's on the other
Yeah,
side.
so I
of
think we
Broken
need
Land.
to, you know, if we're going to put something out, it's good, but we really should have a little map and really good details so that we're not getting hopes up or people aren't getting upset or anything like that.
I gotcha. Howard County has a page on it. I can forward that to you, as well as the blurb I just said.
Okay.
The other thing, I just changed my background. This was about the last time we met. I had the background of the property on Thunderhill Road that's near the stream at the crossing, at the CA path crossing. And they have a fence that Jonathan has talked about several times, where part of the fence is now was hanging in the air because of the erosion. So I took a picture because we talked about it for 2 weeks, and it's about, I don't know, 100 yards from my house. So Sandy mentioned that, and I had noticed this as well, that whoever put the fence up took out part of the fence that was hanging in the stream so that it's no longer there. And they put some mesh along the remaining fence. And I believe it was done by CA, but
I
I
think
have no way
so.
of knowing. But
I'm pretty sure from my correspondence.
yeah, anyway, and Sharon Boyes, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. She actually sent me an email because she noticed she's the one that talked about the Lake Elkhorn watershed restoration project, and how there was, she was voiced her concerns about that. Anyway, she wanted to know what the location of that place was, that I'd had the picture, and she said she wanted to walk by that and visit it. So I told her where it was, and that's about it on that. I have that now as my Zoom background as well. The other thing that I did talk about at the meeting was Orchard Green Tot Lot. When I talked to Chris Singleton about the South Entrance Trail, I also mentioned Orchard Green Tot Lot and asked if there's anything else we could do to move that along. And he said that he's the engineer, and Chris Etoff, who's our bike ped coordinator, are both very supportive of that project, and they're hoping to get funding in the near future, through the infrastructure bill, just like the other things. They're expecting a lot of money to come in to do this kind of work, to do bicycles and trails. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Just one, when we put out the communication about the South Entrance Trail, I know you support it, Warren, I do too, but has our board ever taken a position?
No,
Because I mean, we probably then need to put it out as for your information, but not necessarily, support this. Unless the board wants to bring this in as business and actually go on the record as supporting it.
That's a good point. That is a good point.
I agree, but I can't imagine that anybody wouldn't support it, but good point.
Yeah, no, but I mean, if OMCA puts out a message that says, please support this, it implies that we do, but we haven't actually
Well-
said we do. That's
Well,
all.
maybe not saying, please support this, but just people don't even know about it. I mean,
Oh,
it's,
right, yeah, I'm
We
all for, making people aware of it. Yeah,
yeah.
but if
I
we
mean, I
want to put
think
out a
that's-
stronger, if we want to put out a stronger message, we could, as long as we first actually come together and support it.
Well, maybe if we get the information out first, so we all of us on the board know what this
Yeah.
is all about, because I think it's kind of one of those best kept secrets of
Yes.
Of Columbia is all of the trails that are in process.
So, Lynn, it's interesting that you mentioned that, why wouldn't anyone support it? I know that several people in Allview are
Yeah.
strongly
That's true.
opposed to this.
Yeah,
So-
you're right.
So there may be other people. I mean, I'm a bike nerd and I love the path, so I don't understand why people are against it, but I'm sure there's perfectly rational reasons why people would not like this project, but I'm a huge fan of it, so, but
Well, then maybe we just go with getting the word out about it so people know what it is. I think that this was quite a few years ago, the business with Allview, and they were concerned that people biking the trail might run into problems with flash floods.
I'd heard that argument, yes, which
Yeah.
is puzzling, but yes.
Yeah. Well, of course, now that we know that Oakland Mills is subject to tsunamis, I guess anything is possible.
Good point, Lynn.
All right, thank you, Warren.
Sure.
Lynn, architecture?
Yeah, I don't really have anything except I have something just I want to promote. And this is, a lot of times we think, what are we going to do? We see things on the street or things up and down the street or in our community. And it's not a CA thing. It's not something for Oakland Mills board. But we forget that right on our website, right on our Oakland Mills website, is a little button for See, Click, Fix. And we had a really great experience this past weekend. Late Sunday afternoon, we did a See, Click, Fix for a new pothole at the right in front of our house. And before breakfast the next day, there were people out there filling in the pothole.
wow.
So, just kind of kudos to that program, brought to us by our very own county government. And, let's think about it ourselves, but also kind of remind our residents that
We do all the time.
yeah, it's just a great program. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Okay, we are on to the bulletin board. So I will start with, where am I? People moved around again. Actually, Lynn, let's just stick with you.
No, nothing more.
I got the board members and the residents mixed up again here. I'm having trouble finding people. All right, nothing from Lynn. Rena? Okay, Warren?
Nothing. Thank you.
Okay. Rebecca? Jennifer?
Nothing from me.
Okay. Amy, anything?
Nope.
Sandy?
No, I want to thank Amy because she did a wonderful job on the election page. And I visited all the other villages, and I will tell you, none of them come not even close to what we provide. So thank you, Amy. And also, she's updated our website. She's become our web guru. And if you go on the correspondence page, she has updated everything for the 2021-22 year, all the testimony and correspondence. And so she's a consummate professional. And so I appreciate all of that. So thank you to Amy.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, Bill?
Yes, real quick request, Amy, if you would please go back to all of the board meetings for this past board year and look at the stop time of all of our meetings and get that information to the board. So we would have that in consideration of our next board meeting and timing our meetings. Thanks.
Is that okay, Amy? You have time?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, thanks.
All right, and the item I have, Sandy, I think, did you share the news about Tom Meacham with the whole board, or did that just?
I
go
don't
to
think so.
me?
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
so one item, unfortunately, we learned that Tom Meacham, who is the attorney who has advised us and represented us in a few matters. Most recently, he was very helpful in helping us with the basically what we could do to conduct elections during the pandemic. We unfortunately learned that he passed away after an illness. So, just wanted to inform the board of that and obviously send condolences to his family and his colleagues. He was a really, really good guy to work with. He was always very, very helpful. So sorry to end it on a down note, but I thought that should be recognized in our meeting because he, as I said, he did provide us a lot of advice and representation over the years.
Yes, he did.
And with that said, we are finished with our business and we can adjourn. Thank you all very much.
See you at Meet the Candidates. We'll be sending it out. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Night, everybody.
Bye, everyone.